If you watch enough TV, especially sports programs, you see a lot of commercials for drugs that treat erectile dysfunction. It's something that occurs with age and medical illness, diabetes, cardiovascular issues, prostate cancer, and medications. But increasingly, young men are experiencing ED as frequently as older men without showing any underlying medical cause. 26% of adult men under the age of 40 experience ED, which is comparable to older men. But many men older and younger have no medical issues that account for their erectile dysfunction difficulties. So what are the causes for ED in healthy men? Dr. Eileen Palace is here sharing her expertise on the subject. And this is hard, well, no pun intended. This is a hard subject for a lot of men.
Yeah, it is, but it's also extremely common.
Apparently so, because I mean the commercials they run on TV are all the time.
Absolutely, and we just said 26% of younger men, which now is matching older men. So we've got a large proportion of the population. A lot of them are very healthy and don't have any physical causes, so the MDs can't do a whole lot about it.
So is this psychological then?
Well, I'm not going to use that simple of a word for it. The major cause, I'm going to give you several, but the first one is called performance anxiety, performance pressure, spectatoring.
But that is psychological, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something that's going on cognitively. It's in your head, yeah. So what we're looking at is people who have unrealistic expectations about how they should perform sexually, and it causes insecurity, anxiety, frustration, and ED. We know in Western culture there's puts predominant performance pressure on men anyway. They assume men are responsible for our sexual activities, and men adopt those beliefs, and so they start to worry about their performance, and it causes that type of anxiety.
However, you're saying all the pressure is not on men. You say women play a big role.
Women have a big role in it. Especially when I'm doing therapy, I hear men say to themselves in their own head, they're doing the performance anxiety, and they say, what if it doesn't work? What if I can't do it? Am I going to let her down? So they're talking to themselves like that, which of course distracts them so they can't get aroused. The women, unfortunately, buy into the same stereotypes about men that men do. And they'll say, well, my attractiveness and my appeal is dependent on your erections, which of course is crazy, but it's very common. And they'll say, if you can't get an erection, you must be having an affair. You must no longer be attracted to me. You don't think I'm beautiful anymore. And that puts more pressure on the men, so you get into this vicious cycle.
And we're talking about longer term problems, not somebody who has an occasional.
No, this happens to everybody occasionally. That's perfectly normal. No, we're talking about people who are having long enough term problem that they need to get help, and these are young men, all the way down to 19 years old. I have patients.
And because a lot of it's mental, depression is a big problem.
Depression and anxiety often go hand in hand, and of course that goes as cause and an effect. So when you get depressed, you often will get ED, but when you have ED, obviously it causes frustration. So the two will go together, so you may need to be treating both the anxiety and depression in addition to the ED.
And a lot of people, I mean, pornography is huge. It's one of the biggest sellers on the internet, but it can cause problems.
It can. Because of the speed of our technology and our social media, we're finding that we have now the first generation of young men who are growing up through teenagehood, and we're finding that from the age of 10 years old, they have rapid, available, anonymous exposure to pornography. And so they're watching pornography for years.
And what does that do to a person?
Years before they even have their first sexual activity. Well, it conditions your thinking, first of all, so you have unrealistic expectations that match what these people are doing in pornography, and they also have they condition their body. It's like if you put salt on your food every single day and then all of a sudden you stop it, it tastes bland, right? Yeah. It's hard for any woman to compete with those shows, or men for that matter, so it really does a disservice to both, and the men become conditioned not to be able to respond in the presence of a real partner, and so they have ED unless they're masturbating and watching pornography alone.
And every couple, no matter how close they are, there are relationship issues.
Yeah, people forget that. Men tend to think that they should be able to perform on demand and they should have robo bodies, and it doesn't work like that. What really happens, of course, is that anxiety, stress, frustration, anger, loneliness, all these things are going to compound, and they're going to influence how you feel about sex. You have to feel safe and happy and comfortable in order to have real intimacy. And this is adaptive. We're trying to not be vulnerable. So our bodies shut down. We're in a situation, let's say, after a fight when you're angry. So I want couples to really think about being sure that they've resolved a conflict and they've made sure that they're happy and comfortable and safe in order to have a really fulfilling relationship.
Dr. Eileen Palace, if you'd like to reach out to Dr. Palace, you can visit her website, draileenpalace.com.
Thanks, Eric.